joining us on the phone this morning, Congresswoman Yvette Herrell back with us. Good morning, ma'am. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Well, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here on the radio. And, of course, a lot has gone politically, going on politically in the last couple of weeks since we talked to you here. I want to get your thoughts on the big January 6th hearings and things going on. I know we see they put the primetime deal on with the whole getting Hollywood involved for the first one, and then, of course, they've been doing the subsequent hearings during the day on national televised audiences here. Just your overall thoughts on it. Is it all what you expected it would be? Is there information coming out that surprises you a little bit? Is it all just smoke and mirrors to you? What are your thoughts on it?
I really think it's a complete disaster and a waste of taxpayer money. And Mike, this is such just a sham of a committee hearing. They have no statutory authority. But here's the thing. This is just continuing to sabotage Donald J. Trump and anybody they can. This puts no money in the pocketbooks of the American taxpayer. It doesn't bring the gas prices down. It doesn't secure the southern border. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make the supply chain better or put baby formula on the shelves. And, oh, by the way, Nancy Pelosi's office, all of the correspondence out of her office, whether it's email, text, whatever you want to, any kind of correspondence in regards to January 6th, all of that's off the table.
Sure.
So we're really going to have a true hearing and really talk about these things. But to me, it's become just entertainment value. I mean, I chalk this up to the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, televised court trial, because that's what it is. When you have the ex-president of ABC or whoever it was, that actually produced the very first one.
Sure.
Now we're talking more about, entertainment value. And honestly, the truth is, in New Mexico, actually, the only six that people are calling me about is $6 a gallon gas. That's what people are worried about, the cost of fuel going up to $6 a gallon. This is a sham, and I think people are seeing through it. It is smoke and mirrors. And, they kicked off, Nancy Pelosi kicked off, Jim Jordan, Jim Banks, Troy Nehls, the members that Kevin McCarthy appointed. And so it makes no sense, but the taxpayer dollars that are being wasted on this, and now I think Liz Cheney's probably using it to elevate her name ID. She's in trouble with her reelection. So for her, there are a lot of different reasons they're doing it, but not for the right ones, in my opinion.
Sure. We got a lot to get to, so I don't want to spend all the time talking on January 6th here, but let's since we're talking a little bit about $6 gas here, let's talk about this move to maybe take the federal tax and knocking 15 cents off a gallon. What as far as that's what the president's proposing and things. What's Congress's thoughts on this? And is this a good thing, a bad thing, or is this causing a problem that's going to get bigger down the road? I mean, it could go either way. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's what I find fascinating, and I'll just say I'm glad that President Biden finally saw the light, because I introduced the Pump Act 1 year ago in March of 2021 to eliminate the federal gas tax for 6 months or until the economy started to recover. Of course,
Sure.
No one could foresee how bad it would get. I couldn't even get a committee hearing on that bill. And now suddenly, 4.5 months away from the election, from the midterms, the president's deciding that he might do a elimination of the federal gas tax for 90 days. And granted, if things weren't as bad as they are, this isn't going to push gas prices down as much as I'd love them to come down, but it would put money back in the pockets of the people that are now paying, $4.50, $4.95 a gallon.
Sure.
But I just think it's funny that that's just a testament to how divisive it is up here and how political. I had the bill introduced a year ago, couldn't even get a committee hearing on it, and now they're hearing, people are starting to say, this isn't working. We want something to be done.
Sure.
And now this is like a brand new idea for him. But I don't know whether he does it or not. I think absolutely anything we can do to help relieve the pain at the pump would be a good idea.
Sure.
And so hopefully we'll see if he does it. But I'm suspect of the timing and everything else on it, just because of, all of a sudden 4.5 months before midterm, and now He's going to start doing it. Kind of like the governor writing a letter to the administration saying that she doesn't want illegals transported to Albuquerque. Suddenly, that's a concern to her. I mean,
Sure.
it's just, kind of interesting on timing to me.
Well, and that's something that we as we the people need to make ourselves more just more expert on is when you look at your elected officials, pay attention to what they do during the non-election years versus what they do during the election years, and you might, and if you notice a huge difference, maybe that's not the person that should be representing you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's interesting to me, I know I kind of pivoted over to the border, but we know that's still a major crisis. And the numbers now, April was the all-time high, of encounters in history. And of course, May went up. And then the Department of Homeland Security put out a little memo, did a backdoor meeting and said, all right, we're going to start flying some of these folks up to Albuquerque and to other parts. But here's the truth. Mike, you and I both know they've been flying these illegals all over the country, all over the interior for the last year. And so now suddenly, they want to start flooding Albuquerque with them. And the governor suddenly has become aware that there might be a crisis on the border. And if she's sincere about it, then why doesn't she deploy the National Guard down there, give our Border Patrol agents the help they need in terms of boots on the ground? But again, I'm suspect of any of these decisions, like you just mentioned. When people suddenly start changing their tune or doing things that they know are right, but have been resistant for the last, 18 months, then I have to question the motive behind it. But it'll be interesting. And I do not know if she's received a response or not from the Department of Homeland Security or from the administration.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about, it's all same vein, different stuff here, but of course the Senate passing this gun bill and all of this, now it's coming to your side of Congress here. What is this going to be a dogfight, or is this going to be you guys are just trying to put up a fight that you just don't have the numbers for? Is it going to be another one of these, or what's going to happen in the House, you think?
Sadly, I'm afraid it might pass, and hopefully, if it's only party line. Although I can't say that there wouldn't be a couple of Republicans that wouldn't vote for it, because you saw what happened in the Senate last night.
Sure.
And actually, that vote's going to take place. Here's what's crazy: this bill was put together, a backdoor deal between, I think, 20 senators. None of the Republicans that were part of the dialogue in making this bill, writing this bill, are up for reelection, are going to be reelected this year. They're either not running or not up for reelection. And so, it is really sad that there was no public input. There was no input from some of the organizations, the people, and the bill is a disaster. It's really going to compromise our Second Amendment. It's going to really jeopardize due process, and that is one of the paramount things we have in our country is due process. And I have talked to many of our law enforcement people. They don't like this bill. I mean, and we already have. Here's the thing: we already have federal laws that prohibit dangerous and unfit individuals from purchasing firearms. And like Tony Mace, Sheriff Mace up in Sevier County says, we need to enforce the bills or the laws that are already on the books. But this comes into a situation that brings the red flag. Again, that's very concerning to so many people. And even there was a study done by the Crime Prevention Research Center that said that the red flag laws had no significant effect on murder or suicide. But it also does kind of a backdoor universal background check. It absolutely puts people ages 18 to 20 as second-class citizens, because it makes them wait longer periods of time to buy firearms. And these are, this is what's concerning. I had a news person ask me about the age situation. I said, it's interesting that we will allow, nobody pushes back when 18-year-olds want to join the armed services and handle firearms and protect our nation. No one cares about 18-year-olds being able to vote for the people that are actually making these decisions, and that suddenly they want to start saying there's no responsible 18 to 21-year-olds, and I just don't buy that. They apparently haven't spent much time in New Mexico, because we have a number of amazing 18 to 20-year-olds.
Well, and then last time I checked, if a 18-year-old commits a felony, they get treated as an adult, not as a child.
That's right. That's right.
Why is that the case? But you know what I mean? It's a double stand. It's either they can handle it or they can't. They can't handle it on a per case basis here, like they're pointing out, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And in the bill also comes back to that. We had this in the state when I was a state representative. Not only red flag, but just then it puts the pressure on individuals that want to transition firearms from one individual to another, and it puts pressure on them where now they won't be able to do that. It's more of the same. It's a good talking point. I do not believe this bill is the right fix.
Sure.
We all want safer schools. There are ways that we can invest in mental health, behavioral health, more resource officers in the school systems. Why don't we update some of the functions of the school in terms of capabilities to do lockdowns and so forth? But this is a feel-good bill for the Democrats, and they were just, hell-bent in getting it done before we break for 4th of July recess, which we'll leave to today. We'll be out of session for the next 2 weeks, but we were not leaving this, D.C. until they got this done. But here's what's sad. It just passed the Senate last night, like at 10 o'clock. The bill just came. None of the offices have the full context of the bill yet because it just passed. They're going to run it through the Rules Committee this morning. In fact, they're doing it right now, and then expect all of us to vote on it. And so we're just pulling what we can find, what we've gotten with our colleagues over on the Senate side. This is what they do to the American people.
Sure.
They come up with a bill, they rush it through with no regard to what people might think, what ideas could be considered. And then rush it through, and then we'll go out this 4th of July and act like they've done something special, when in fact they really haven't done the right thing for the American people. And across the board, it doesn't matter the party, people in general are law-abiding citizens that own firearms. They understand the Second Amendment, and they know this is, again, the camel's nose under the tent, and even more so, it's an impediment on the Second Amendment. They
Sure.
know that, and I think they're miscalculating the importance of our right to own a firearm and the importance of gun ownership in the nation.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is just my 2 cents on it. This I call what we're seeing right now legislation by emotion, and
Yep.
and the other point when it comes to gun restrictions, things like that. I think the problem we're seeing right now is we're making all the laws in the world. You can make all the laws in the world. There was laws, for many years on how to buy a gun and things like this. The problem, I think, is we keep making laws, and we got legislators sitting in, whether it's our U.S. Congress or state houses, sitting in there making all these laws and creating restrictions, but then they don't turn around and give the actual people that have to do this stuff the resources to do it. So the law it has no teeth because they can't enforce it. They're talking about background checks and all that. These things that slip through the cracks or whatever is because there's not proper stuff in place to do all this. And I kind of look at, rather than sit here and make more laws that aren't really being enforced, let's go back and see what's already on the books and make sure those are being enforced.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I kind of feel like, and so now, and like, it's exactly like you said, they'll come in on a Friday and make everybody vote this thing real quick, because if you don't, you are against every, that means you want kids dead. You want, you know what I mean? They guilt you into that. And now that you look, and so I voted no, and as soon as you say I voted no, that's where they stop the soundbite. If they keep going, it's I voted no because it didn't have here. It would fix this, but we got to surrender this, and this to fix this. That's not the right answer. And so, but that's not the part that most Americans get privy to. So that's the part I kind of make on it is stop, legislating by emotion, and let's actually talk about these things and not create 16 congressional panels and meetings every time there's a school shooting. This isn't going to work, So that's just my thought.
That's exactly right. No, and you're absolutely right. And you hit the nail on the head in terms of the federal law. Just looking at what it's already people that have a misdemeanor, domestic violence conviction, or involuntarily committed to a mental institute. Any of these things. This is already people who are prohibited from possessing or purchasing a firearm, and they're putting that back in there. I mean, so it's a lot of redundancy, but a lot of it, just like you said earlier, kind of a knee-jerk reaction and not really solving any issue. It's a feel-good bill to go back to the district and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But at the end of the day, it's not a realistic bill that would actually work and really help the American people. And they really, I believe, underestimated how many people are responsible gun owners. Basically, this bill punishes all law-abiding citizens that are responsible gun owners, and that's the crime in this whole thing. It's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't punish the good people just because you're emotional about this. And we're all sick over what we see happening. It's interesting to me that we see on the news every weekend how many homicides are there in different cities, Chicago and around the country, and they never say a word about that. But they wait so they could exploit and really pull the heartstrings, and it makes me sick. And I think there are a lot of things that happened at Uvalde that you and I probably don't even know all
Sure.
the details of what the police, the decisions that were being made. Don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning this at all. I'm just saying, think it's not very wise to make decisions based, like you just said, on emotion rather than, if we're going to sit down and do something, let's sit down and look at what we've already got. How can we improve it? Can we improve it? And if not, let's give the resources necessary to these agencies that are really on the hook for doing the background checks and so forth. So it is just a direct attack. And I've had a ton of people reach out to the office against this bill because they knew it was coming.
Sure.
Nobody knew when, but today's the big day. So.
Yeah, and this is just it. This Friday seems like it's kind of compiling to a lot of stuff between what's going on in Congress and obviously what's going on in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
It's kind of so real quick. I don't know how much time we got you left with you before you got to go, but I do want to discuss Supreme Court a little bit. Of course, the New York. Speaking of guns, talking about the concealed carry, the reversal there by the Supreme Court.
That's right.
Timing here as the other stuff's going on in the Senate, and at the same time, Supreme Court's going kind of the other direction here.
I know.
It's kind of a weird place right now, isn't it?
It's so weird. Yeah, that decision came out yesterday, and today probably the Roe v. Wade one will come out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of extra security up here right now, and a lot of roads blocked off and that. And so, yeah, it'll be an emotional day for many people who just don't understand because they're mad about yesterday's court decision. They're going to be excited today if this thing gets through the House. And then, with the Roe v. Wade, it's just, for some people up here, it's an emotional roller coaster.
Sure.
To me, it's just like, why don't we just get back to basics, put the American people first? And one thing real quick, because I do have to jump off, but the one thing I do want to state about this Supreme Court ruling, and this makes me so mad, I've heard so many people in New Mexico and around the country say, the women's health choice, the women's right. This bill that reversal, if they go that direction today, won't change any of that.
Right.
It simply gives the decision back to the states.
Yeah.
So in a state like New Mexico, since we are the late-term abortion capital of the country, which is sickening, but that's where we are in this world right now, this isn't going to change a darn thing in terms of choices for women's health in the state of New Mexico. It simply gives the decision process back to the states where it should have been all along, closer to the people. So, again, there's so much misinformation out there, but people hear something or see a weird news clip or hear, something on the news and think it's, the truth, just like these bills. A lot of them, the titles are great.
Yeah.
Then you pull back the curtain and look at the text of the bill and the consequences of it or the overreach, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. So I think the American people and certainly the people of New Mexico are starting to really pay attention and look to see what these dangerous policies are doing to our personal life, our businesses, our families, our communities, and really our country.
Yeah, I mean, and that at the end of the day, the Roe v. Wade decision here is, you're absolutely right. It's not going to overturn or keep abortions legal in this country. It doesn't do any of that.
Yeah.
All it says is the federal government is out of the business of deciding whether it's legal or not. That's all we're saying is it's the federal government saying, we're out. You decide whether you want to have an abortion or not. That's not something the federal government's going to tell you can do or not do. That's all the overturning Roe v. Wade says, which, according to, our Constitution, now it falls on the states to be responsible for that. So now each state gets to decide whether they're going to keep abortion or make it illegal. And like you just said, if your state's a liberal state, odds are pretty good it's not going anywhere. And and everyone else knows here in New Mexico, we've got 100 years to get to middle before we get even a conservative
Yeah.
state. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So yeah. So don't believe everything you hear on TV. You got to wait. People have to wait and listen to us, Mike. And then they get the truth.
Exactly. Just wait to do every decision. Just wait to this conversation. So, which means
That's
we're going to have
right.
to have more of
Okay.
them. That would just be the rule.
That's right. We'll just do it.
Very
just
good.
do it. So,
Well,
okay, good deal.
thank you, ma'am. Have a great weekend and safe travels back home to the district when you get to do all that here. And we look forward to talk to you again soon. Okay.
Sounds great. Hey, and you have a great weekend too.
All right. We'll do the same. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Congresswoman Yvette Herrell. I knew I had her for about 15, 20 minutes, and I was like, man, we got a lot to get to. So I apologize if it was fast and furious with the questions, but I had there's just a lot going on right now, and I wanted to get her thoughts on all of those. So thank you to the Congresswoman and Casey. Her assistant Casey's kind of the wrangler who keeps in touch with me and keeps me, okay, we got her for a few minutes, and very good at working times and everything. So appreciate their office for always kind of staying in touch with us and keeping us up to date on stuff.